Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with German-based jazz guitarist, composer, arranger, and educator Diego Pinera. He opened up about his latest 2021 CD called Odd Wisdom, being born in Uruguay and his life in Germany since 2003. He studied at the Berklee College of Music, the University of Music in Havana, Cuba, and the University of Music and Theater in Germany. His brushes with all kinds of culture and music has led to a unique style and voice. Get to know him and enjoy. Thanks for taking a minute out.
Oh, sure, man.
So, how's everything in your neck of the woods?
Oh, man. We are all fighting this really uncertain situation with the COVID. But yeah, I'm healthy, so for now, could be worse,
That's true. Well, hey, we'll talk about something positive like music. So let's start off with Odd Wisdom, your latest album. It comes out during a pandemic. Do you feel good about having something coming out during this time?
Yeah, well, I recorded in New York the first week of February 2020. I didn't have any idea that like a world pandemic would come out suddenly. So I didn't, or we didn't, with ACT, the label, we didn't want to bring it out like 2 years later after the recording. Somehow kind of strange, So first we wanted to bring it out in November 2020, thinking that the corona will be over, which of course was not. And then we decided to bring it out the first week of, the last day of January, or the 29th of January, 2021, because I also thought that because I can play, at least I will get some attention, bringing something new out, So in that sense, it's something going on, at least,
How do you want the listener to, what do you want the listener to take away from this CD? How do you want them to feel about the music you put out?
Well, what I've always tried to do in my CDs is that, behind this complexity, which, we are having in all these songs, rhythmic complexity, and I want the listener to enjoy the melodic part, and the rhythm part, to feel the groove and to feel the sounds, the different sounds and different melodies, as something which shows some kind of feelings, sadness or happiness, or that comes out some kind of feeling in the listening, not only an analytic kind of way,
So you have an interesting background. You're originally from Uruguay, but you live in Germany. Talk to me a little bit about your childhood and how jazz became your life.
Yeah, well, I started when I was 4 years old, really, really early, jamming together with my parents, which are both musicians, folkloric musicians, and they put me a teacher really early when I was 4 or 5. Even. He started showing me all the rudiments, all the American rudiments. He brought me to Osvaldo Fatoruso, which is a great drummer from Uruguay, when I was 9. So I was taking really intensively drum lessons, and Osvaldo was 10 years in the States, so he knew a lot of the, rudiment and jazz tradition, and so he passed me a lot of that, and then when I thought, in Uruguay to make a career and to learn different stuff, there is a limitation because it's small, so I decided to go to Cuba when I was 17 and learn, they have a great school, there's some Latin jazz and Afro-Cuban music, so that happened, and then I studied at Berklee afterwards because I was in Seattle and it was a scholarship tour. I won a big scholarship, so I was at Berklee, and at the end, because I have some family in Germany and I have actually also a German passport, I went to finish my studies in Germany, where actually Bach was born, So so that was that's more or less really a quick impression from my studies, So, and jazz, it became already from my teacher Osvaldo Paturuso really, really clear that that it was a thing that I wanted to do. It kind of improvising was like easier for me than than playing like parts that were the whole time fixed. So for Osvaldo was telling me this feeling since I was a kid. So jazz is the closest thing to improvisation, on the spot. That's why I think I have this connection.
And you also have a very unique sound, and you have all of these different places that you've been to and spent time in between Cuba and Uruguay and Germany and in different regions of the United States. How did all of these different influences come in to make your sound?
Oh yeah, totally, Joe. Of course, like my Latin part, with all these clave patterns and in the States with like working on the right cymbal and on the swing, the tradition, and also Berlin, I have to say, because Berlin is really, really top in what is like avant-garde and contemporary music applied into jazz. And like using contemporary percussion sounds into jazz. So I've learned a lot of using like different or special sounds on the combining it with the drum set, not only playing just the drums and putting cymbals on the snare and putting the snare backwards. For example, on this CD, I use in every song a different hi-hat. I prepare a hi-hat, which actually doesn't even exist, with like some two crashes, like a different sounds, in conversation with myself. For example, I was using the snare like backwards, like using the thing under the snare as a sound resource and putting like an Indian meditation bell, So these I really got inspired by the Berlin stuff, and of course, if you go to Blue Monk, from the studies from the black tradition in the U.S. If you go to Clavetune, then then it's more the Latin part with the polyrhythms, and Robotic Night is actually something. The first time that I use in like live electronics, it's all live, so I put a pad on the left, this is also a thing that I developed in Berlin, also being with Yamaha. I'm a Yamaha artist, so they sent me these pads, so I started experimenting, and this came out. So yeah, so thank you first for saying that unique style, but yeah, this was like a bunch of influences. Actually, you are right, from the different places that I have been.
What do you like the best about being a professional musician?
A good question. Actually, in the times before COVID, to travel,
Yeah.
So yeah, to get to know different cultures and interact with people, with people from different cultures, and to know different places, and to be on stage a lot, and of course, this is the good part of being a professional musician. Of course, being a professional musician, you have a lot of pressure to perform well, So it's not that bad. Once that happens, if you have a good concert and it's a nice place, it's really like a gift, It's actually, it's good. Of course, now for every professional musician who has this from it, it changed, now, at least for a bit, I really love to record, in different places. I love to be on the studio, to interact with people. This you have as a professional musician.
What do you hope when we do get back to live music and COVID slows down and you're on the stage and we're in the crowd? What do you hope we all realize about live music when we come back?
Yeah, that is like really necessary for the mental health
Yeah.
of people to stay sane.
Sure. Because
people, like people who are not in the business, who doesn't know that, to listen to the radio, you have to actually, the musicians have to go to the studio and perform, live also to get the music together, and all this crazy, really big process, and long process. And really, at the end, it comes out from the radio. People don't realize it and take it for granted, and then if they go to a concert, they think, you go to the stage and all this complicated stuff and all this amazing stuff pops out like that, just like that, I think people will suddenly appreciate to be in a concert and to see actually the musicians and to feel the energy, from the live thing, I hope so.
So my final question is, everyone has an idea of who they think you are. Your family does, your friends do, your fans. Yeah. But ultimately, you're the one that's living your life. How do you see yourself? Who do you think you are?
As a musician, I think I'm trying at least to be a creative musician who like to innovate, tries at least to innovate as much as possible on the instrument and the composition, and just to enjoy music, and like a researcher. I think I consider myself a researcher.
I really appreciate you, Diego, taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. Good luck with the album and the return to the stage.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Uruguay, Germany, Boston, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Diego for his time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit Neon Jazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.